Okay, this is lesson 2, page 4. Number 1, they want us to add the fractions with unlike denominators. Remember, to add fractions with unlike denominators, first you write the equivalent fractions using the least common denominator. So for 12 and 3, you can see that your least common denominator would be 12. Okay, so let's go ahead and write that as the denominator, 12. And then you want to find your equivalent fractions. Remember, in order for them to be equivalent, you have to multiply the top and bottom by the same number. So from here to here, you multiply it by 1. 12 times 1 gives you 12. So you're going to do the same thing on the top. 1 times 1 gives you 1. Now let's find the equivalent fraction for 2/3. Well, from 3 to 12, you're going to multiply it by 4. So you need to multiply the top number by the same number. 2 times 4 gives you 8. Okay, once you do that, you just add your numerators. So 1 plus 8 gives you 9. You do not add your denominators, they stay the same. Your answer should be 9 over 12, but then you can reduce that by dividing the top and bottom by 3. They're multiples of 3. Nine divided by 3 gives you 3. 12 divided by 3 gives you 4. So your final answer would be 3/4. For number 3, says mixed numbers whose fraction parts are fractions with unlike denominators are called mixed numbers with unlike denominators. To add mixed numbers with unlike denominators, first you write the fractional parts with the mixed numbers as equivalent fractions using the LCD, which is your least common denominator. The two mixed numbers will be mixed numbers with like denominators and can be added and simplified as needed. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start by finding your least common denominator. You have 12 and 3, which happen to be the same as number 1, so we know our denominator is going to be 12. We're going to find equivalent fractions. 12 times 1 is 12. 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 4 is 12, so 2 times 4 is 8. Your next step is to add your numerators. You got 1 plus 8 gives you 9. And remember, your denominators stay the same, 12. Once you do that, the only thing different is for you to add your whole numbers. 2 plus 3 gives you 5. And just like earlier, we know we can simplify this by dividing by 3. 9 divided by 3 gives me 3. 12 divided by 3 gives me 4. And then the 5 just comes right over here. So your final answer is going to be 5 3/4. Okay, let's look at number 10. Your common denominator for number 5 would be, let's look at number 5. Your common denominator for number 5 would be 10. Got ahead of myself. All right, and then we want to find equivalent fractions. So 1 times 10 gives you 10. So then you're going to multiply the top number by 1 again. 1 times 1 gives you 1. Then you got the bottom. You got 2 times 5 gives you 10. So 1 times 5 gives you 5. Once we do that, we can add our numerators. 1 plus 5 gives me 6. Remember, denominator stays the same. And now we just add our whole numbers. 1 plus 2 gives me 3. Okay, if you notice the numerator and denominator are both even numbers, that's a dead giveaway that you can simplify it by dividing it by 2 at least, if not more. So let's divide it by 2. 6 divided by 2 gives me 3. 10 divided by 2 gives me 5. And then the whole number just goes right over here. So your final answer is 3 3/5. Okay, your number 7 is 1 1/6 plus 2 3/4. Anytime I'm doing fractions with unlike denominators, I like to write them vertically instead of horizontally. So if you want to do that on another sheet of paper or to the side, so that way we can find common denominators and equivalent fractions easier. Okay, for a common denominator for 6 and 4 would be 12. Now I'm going to find my equivalent fractions. 6 times 2 gives me 12. So 1 times 2 gives me 2. 4 times 3 gives me 12. So 3 times 3 gives me 9. Alright, once I'm done with that, I can just add my numerators. 9 plus 2 gives me 11. Denominators stay the same. And then I add my whole numbers. 2 plus 1 gives me 3. My final answer is 3 11/12. Okay, number 9, we're finding our common denominator for this one. It also happens to be 9. Let's find our equivalent fractions. 3 times 3 gives you 9. So 3 times 2 gives you 6. 9 times 1 gives you 9. 5 times 1 gives you 5. Once you do that, you want to add your numerators. 6 plus 5 gives you 11. And your denominator stays the same, 9. Add your whole numbers. 4 plus 2 gives you 6. Okay, now with this one, it's a little bit different. You're going to have to go an extra step because the numerator is bigger than the denominator. You want to change that improper fraction to a mixed fraction by dividing it. So you're going to put the numerator inside the house and the denominator outside the house. 9 can go into 11 one time, and then you're left with 2 9s. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to add this to this. Okay, so you'll just add the 1 plus the 6, which gives you 7, and then the 2 9s just come straight down. And then you're done. Your answer is 7 2 9. Number 11, our common denominator is 6. I'm going to find equivalent fractions. 2 times 3 gives me 6, so 1 times 3 gives me 3. 6 times 1 gives me 6, so 5 times 1 gives me 5. Once I do that, just add my numerators. 5 plus 3 gives me 8. Denominator stays the same. Add the 1 and the 2, gives me 3. And then you have the same situation you had earlier, so you're going to have to convert the improper fraction to a mixed. 6 can go into 8 one time. Then you subtract, leaves you with 2 over 6. So go ahead and add the 3 plus the 1 and 2 6, which of course gives you 4 and 2 6. And then the last thing you want to do is simplify. Because they're both even numbers, you can divide them by 2. 2 divided by 2 gives me 1. 6 divided by 2 gives me 3. So my final answer is going to be 4 1/3. Okay, number 13, your common denominator is 12. Equivalent fractions, 4 times 3 gives you 12, so 3 times 3 gives you 9. 3 times 4 gives you 12, so 4 times 2 gives you 8. Okay, then we want to add our numerators. 9 plus 8 gives me 17. Denominator stays the same. And of course you have an improper fraction. If you're going to change it to a mixed, you're going to divide. 17 divided by 12 goes into one time. Should equal 1 5/12. And there's no whole numbers to add it to, so that's going to be your final answer. Okay, number 15, my common denominator is going to be 18. My equivalent fractions, 9 times 2, 4 times 2. 6 times 3, 1 times 3. And then I just need to add my numerators. 8 plus 3 gives me 11. My denominator stays the same. So that's my final answer, 11 over 18. For number 17, says William used 2½ cups of sugar to make ice cream and 1 1/3 cups of sugar to make cookies. How much sugar did William use in all? Of course, that means you're going to add them. Okay, we want to find our common denominator, which is 6. Find our equivalent fractions. Add our numerators. Keep our denominator. And then just add our whole numbers. 2 plus 1 gives me 3. So my final answer is 3 5/6 cups of sugar. Number 19 says Tisha walked 3 3/4 miles. Before lunch, she walked 4 7/12 miles. After lunch, how many miles did she walk in all? Of course, you're going to add those again. Find our common denominator, which is 12. Find our equivalent fractions. Add our numerators. 9 plus 7 gives me 16. Keep our denominator. Add our whole numbers. 4 plus 3 gives me 7. And then you just want to convert the improper fraction to a mixed by dividing. And you're going to add that to the 7. 7 plus the 1 gives you 8. And then 4/12. Of course, you can see you can divide 4 and 12 by 2. And that gives you 2 over 6, which of course you can reduce it again to 1/3. So your final answer is going to be 8 1/3 miles. Okay, now go ahead and go back and complete all the rest of the problems that I did not do with you from pages 3 through 6. Then you're going to do the extra practice, page 35. Should have started it yesterday. You're going to finish it today, 1 through 12. And then once you're done with that, you can go do your VMath Live lessons 1 if you haven't done that one, and lesson 2. If you do not finish lesson 1 and 2 for the VMath Live by today, that's something that you need to start doing either at home or in the library or somewhere where you have internet access, because you don't want to fall too far behind. And after today, we're supposed to already be finished with lesson 2. So, okay, we're done. Good luck.